Hey, thanks for clicking. My name is Joe Fritz, and I'm here to draw some more stuff in my bestiary. So last time I did a bestiary, I was doing Dungeons and Dragons monsters, and without realizing it, I was completely and utterly ripping off somebody who was already doing stuff. Arcane Forge was out there doing literally what I was doing, only better, and I didn't realize it until like one of his videos popped up while I was watching one of my own videos to make sure, the sound was good and all that stuff. And so yeah, I felt a little weird about that. And obviously he's better than me at all of it, because he clearly either writes out his scripts or writes out an outline instead of just rambling on for 15 minutes like I do. So he's more professional and just better. I highly recommend going and enjoying his channel. After you're done watching this, of course, and liking and subscribing and all that good stuff. Anyways, so I decided I was just going to, let's take that parchment, let's make it a nice radiation green, and we're going to do a bunch of kaiju. We're gonna do four kaiju that are variations on the sort of tropes that you see in almost all giant monster media. And this trope is obviously the giant ape, but instead of doing a giant gorilla like everybody else, Primal Rage, Rampage, I'm looking at you, I decided to do a giant mandrill. Now, a mandrill is a type of baboon that lives in Africa. They are super cool looking. They're a very colorful mammal, and I'm going to reflect that in the coloration on this guy. It's similar to, birds or a peacock. The males will develop this bright coloration to attract women, attract ladies. Just like, hey baby, check out all the blue on my face. Yeah. So while I've decided to leave the Dungeons and Dragons monsters to Arcane Forge, since he is much better at it than me, I have decided to if I'm going to keep doing stuff like this, I might as well learn a little bit from him. So I decided to apply some of the techniques I learned watching his channel to my own drawing style, and I was surprised to learn that it is a lot faster than I realized it would be. I ended up with a lot less video footage to work with somehow. It was very strange. I thought that my technique before of don't erase anything, just keep drawing. And just kind of doing it like it was in marker or whatever. I thought that would be faster, but I mean, some of those drawings were like 3 hours, and this one was just under 2. So, and maybe that shows by how bad it looks at the end. I don't know. I'll leave that for you to decide. I don't know. I'm always very critical of my own stuff, so. I think if I was going to redraw this guy, I would draw his head a lot smaller. But again, I was just trying to draw something quickly, do something fun. So, obviously giant gorillas are a staple of kaiju ever since the King Kong movie. It's obviously the first giant monster movie. Unless you count the old Fleischer Superman cartoons, which also had a giant ape and a giant lizard. It's clear that those Fleischer Superman cartoons, man, I don't know, they were. I love watching them. There's some of the best public domain stuff out there. You should. If someone put me in charge of a Superman movie, I would literally be stealing from those things. I would probably set it in a time period that is sort of ambiguous as far as whether it was, similar to the Tim Burton Batman movie, where it's ambiguous whether this is modern day or the 1930s or whatever, people running around in hats and stuff like that. But yeah, I think that would be really cool. Anyways, this isn't about Superman. This is about giant monsters. So, a lot of great giant monster movies coming out lately, and that's kind of gotten me in the giant monster mood. Obviously, I've been playing War of the Monsters and that Godzilla game. Also got it was like I watched Pacific Rim, which I liked, but it wasn't as good as the first one. Wasn't expecting it to be, really. Then you've got the new Godzilla movie coming out. The Rampage was so super good. I think I'm gonna have to. I wish a video game had come out about that. I wish Way Forward had made a new Rampage video game based on this movie. But anyways, the movie was really surprisingly good, though. I just think that somehow they managed to combine like a cartoony, violence where just, somebody's just going about their day and then they just get mushed by a giant monster. But then also, there's some people you kind of want to see get mushed by giant monsters, and they get mushed by giant monsters and you love it. You cheer. But also, just seeing a tank get squished is always fun. Yeah, that movie was a lot of fun. The Rock's really good in it, surprisingly. I don't know, for some reason The Rock doesn't wear out his welcome the way a lot of actors do when they're in every movie. Somehow The Rock and Samuel L. Jackson get away with that. I don't know what it is about those two guys that they manage to not annoy me when they're in every movie. But yeah, a funny thing about the Rampage movie is that if you know a little bit of sign language, The Rock is actually calling himself The Rock throughout the whole movie in sign language when he speaks to the giant gorilla. My theory is that, he does a lot of Make-A-Wish Foundation stuff. So my theory is that he learned to sign his own name in sign language. And so that's one of the signs he knows. So when they ask him to do sign language on film, that's like his go-to kind of thing. My name's, I'm The Rock, so he calls himself The Rock throughout the movie. So if you are deaf and you are watching Rampage, the main character's name is The Rock. And then he's like a lot of, he signs family and stuff like. If you know just a little bit of sign language, he's actually using sign language, but it's just hilarious that one of the signs he uses to describe himself is Rock. So his character is The Rock. Anyways, so you can see here I'm dealing with grays to get the tones right. That's one thing that Arcade and Forge does. I don't know if this is a technique he came up with himself, but I decided to steal it because it makes coloring a lot faster. As you can see, I'm not as good as him. This is sort of me getting back in the swing of wanting to draw again. So it's a lot of my scribbles, just a lot of scribbles in there. But he works in grays first, almost like he's working in graphite, and then he colors over the top of that. And it ends up being a lot faster because then you're just working on the tones. You're not working in color and trying to get the colors right. You're just working in tones, and then you put color over the top of that and let the grays do the work for you. And obviously, if you've ever worked in graphite, it's good to have like a white colored pencil around to add highlights. Or those, I believe they're called Conti crayons. Similar thing. There's a white one in there for highlights. So yeah, just add some highlights to his claws and everything. I figure this guy, he'd probably have some superpowers, unlike other giant apes. Obviously, most of the time, giant apes don't have any powers except they're really strong. You know, like King Kong picking up Godzilla's tail and swinging him around. Although I don't believe that ever actually happened in the movies. That makes a really cool, makes for a really cool shot, production shot or whatever. I figure this guy's got powers, so I think he can. My idea basically is that he can make like illusory versions of himself. Maybe his radiation powers or whatever. He's irradiated, so he has kind of control of the light spectrum in a way, so he can make basically make illusory versions of himself. And while you're going after the illusory version of himself, he can sneak up behind you and beat the hell out of you and get you with his claws. And I like that idea because it kind of mirrors you know, the kind of the Monkey King from you know, the Journey to the West, how he was able to clone himself. So I wanted to give him kind of a power like that. And since I think giving him a cloud to fly on and giving him a stick that changes shape would be kind of silly, isn't really appropriate for giant monsters. I thought giving him some way of like copying himself would be really cool. So I figure he's got some sort of illusory, he has some sort of control over the light spectrum so that he can kind of appear to be somewhere else. And then when somebody goes over there to try and attack him, they have to deal with him jumping out from behind something and getting them. So I thought that was a neat power. So that's this guy's power. But as you can see, just coloring over the top of it, I made the entire color layer like 50% transparency, and that way the color just kind of goes through, and then the tones I've established in the gray actually just, you know, blend together. It makes it look really cool. Obviously I wanted this guy to be, you know, kind of brightly colored because that's the way mandrills are. So I mixed in a lot of blue and purple and all this other stuff. Obviously his teeth are yellowed. He needs to get a doctor to look at that. Just kind of get a dentist in there. Fix some teeth. Maybe get some white strips, man. What you doing? So what else can I talk about? Ran out of time here. I have pretty much filled up my basically the tubs that I take to conventions. So I'm running out of space to put stuff. So I've kind of slowed down my my painting. I think maybe I will do some paintings that won't go to conventions. Maybe go to some other places that I might. Basically, I want to do some more mainstream stuff in hopes of maybe selling those at different types of conventions. So we'll see how that goes. But I've also got an idea for maybe doing some smaller stuff, maybe some magnets, maybe do some stickers, maybe draw some Madballs style things and make them in sticker form. I have some ideas. We'll see where those go. Basically, I just wanted to draw something. I just felt like drawing. John got me back into kind of drawing when he made me do the Kelsey. Oh my gosh. I'm bad with names. Kelsey, when I drew the Kelbert label. So, yeah. How you doing? You still watching this? All right. So the other thing that Arcane Forge does is he will play around with the hue a little bit to kind of get things where he wants it. I don't know. I think this turned out really good. So there he is, mushing that tank. Got to mush that tank. It looks like he's gonna pop it open and start drinking the diesel fuel out of it. Yum. So anyways, there's my drawing of a mandrill. I think I'm going to call him Mandora. Yeah. Watch for him when he comes to your neighborhood, starts smashing buildings. He's going to get you. Mandora's going to get you. All right, peace.